Hey everyone, I'm Tim, aka Nowski, and thanks for watching this video. I'm going to be talking about the third semester of nurse practitioner school. At the time I'm recording this video, I actually have already graduated, but I'm just making the time to finally do these videos. I want to finish this Journey to NP series where I talk about the first semester, second semester, third and fourth semester, and then would love to make videos where I talk about more specific aspects of school or going into nurse practitioner school or choosing your route, graduating, getting a job, things like that. But to start off, even though I've graduated already, I want to go back and talk about semester 3 and semester 4 because the last video I did, I finished talking about the second semester and a summer session that came right after that. But here we go. This is semester 3 of nurse practitioner school. So if you watched my previous videos, you know that I'm in an adult gerontology primary care nurse practitioner program, and I was in the program at Clemson University. I don't know if I ever mentioned that in a previous video because as a student, I didn't know if I should be mentioning my school or talking much about it. It might have slipped out, but now I can say I was at Clemson University. It was a master's program, and I just graduated. So I'm probably going to be a little more open to critiquing the classes that I was in and giving my opinions. I didn't want to do that as a student. That'd be sketchy. I didn't want to risk anything. But now that I've graduated, I could give a little bit more of an opinion. Anyways, so semester 3, I was in 3 classes. I was in developing family. Some other schools might refer to that as women's health. I was in gerontology and primary care of the Frail Elder. So as an AGNP student, you don't always take the same classes as the FNP students, and you don't always take the same clinicals as them. So one of those courses where this differed amongst the students was developing family. As an AGNP student, we took this developing family women's health lecture, but we did not do a clinical component that went with it. And for the FNP students, as I said in my last video, they didn't do a clinical component to their mental health, whereas the AGNP students at Clemson did do the lecture and a clinical component for mental health. So that's where we differed a little bit. So took developing family, but not a lecture with it. Gerontology, I took a lecture and a clinical. And primary care of the Frail Elder, I took a lecture and a clinical. The FNP students did not do primary care of the Frail Elder, they took pediatrics. In developing family, women's health is what we all called it because that was what it's about. It's a lot of learning your GYN disorders, diseases, infections, and learning a lot. I mean, we could have just called it birth control class because that was the biggest focus. Going into this, I was really not looking forward to women's health because I knew I didn't want to really be in the OBGYN scene, but I ended up learning it's good to know at least a little bit about this stuff, especially, I mean, every NP needs to know about birth control, needs to know about your GYN infections. You need to be able to have differential diagnoses if a lady comes in with lower abdomen pelvic pain. You just need to know about your various disorders, diseases, and infections and how to actually make the diagnosis, especially if you're in primary care. You don't always just consult everything out to GYN. You need to know how to diagnose some of this stuff or rule some stuff out. I'm going to go ahead and say Clemson University's course, the biggest issue I had was I didn't know ever what I should be focusing on. It was so much material. Should I be memorizing every type of birth control there is? Is it in doses, and is it going to be on the test? We got no clarity on that. Biggest reason I didn't like that class. I feel like any class could be good and bad. As far as this program, that one wasn't great because the teaching style wasn't what I preferred. I just felt, and I think this was the main consensus of the whole class, we didn't really know what what we were going to be tested on. And that's annoying, I think, in a class. I think if you could have a good class would be one that you present the information, you'd be like, know this is important, this is what you need to know as a nurse practitioner, and this is what you could be tested on. And then we go and we make sure to get that in our head. I passed that course, didn't really like it, didn't like the teaching style of the professors, but that was women's health. A lot of birth control stuff, GYN infection disorders, and stuff like that. Along with that, I took gerontology. So think of gerontology as an extension to adult health, which I talked about in one of my previous videos. And so in adult health, you're learning more about your acute health disorders, say appendicitis, you have an ear infection, you have, a strep throat, you have pneumonia, something that's acute, some sort of like infection or acute issue. Whereas in gerontology, we're looking at more your chronic diseases, your kidney disease, your heart failure, your dementia. And so basically you're learning about this in lecture. And in this course, I had a clinical component. So what was cool at Clemson, they let your clinical, it could be with a specialty group, as long as that group saw primarily older adults or saw a good amount of older adults. So some students still went into some sort of a primary care setting. Some got with like geriatrics, some got with maybe pulmonology. I got to be with cardiology, which is what I really wanted. And because working as a nurse, I've always been in the cardiac scene, and I like that field. So I got to be with a cardiac NP, see how they did office appointments, see what sort of medicines and disorders they're treating. I thought that was really cool. Definitely in cardiology, your patient population is primarily older people. That's not to say we didn't see some young adults with heart issues, but you're looking at a lot of people in their 60s, 70s. I mean, nowadays, even 40s, 50s, a lot of people are having heart disease, especially here in America. Very interesting to have a clinical with them. And I feel like that in that clinical, I had a really good preceptor who let me practice writing notes, practice having patient interactions. And I had some good preceptors in the past. This one, though, was the first one where I actually was able to practice writing notes. And I feel like that was a major part of NP school that wasn't taught in class very much. That's something Clemson could work on, is actually teach how to write notes, teach it in class, because we were all learning on the fly in our clinicals. So anyways, that was gerontology, learning about chronic diseases, getting to be with a cardiology group. Really loved it. Then I was also in primary care of the Frail Elder. This was a lecture with a clinical. So in this case, a lot of it overlapped with gerontology. We learned about more dementia stuff again, frailty, this sort of idea of failing to thrive, end of life issues. Palliative care was brought up in this course. And the AGNP students took this class, whereas FNP students did not. They took a pediatrics class. So that was kind of our specialty of our program, AGNP. We got this focus on Frail Elder while they took a pediatric course in the FNP program. So I thought this was a great class. Being someone in the AGNP program, I like learning about how to care for the older adult. And in this case, this is the old adult. So you're thinking, your 70-year-olds, your 80-year-olds, your 90-year-olds, and specific care that relates to them. The clinical that I did took place in a nursing home. So very much aligned with the lecture, because we were seeing, little old people in their nursing home environment. And I got to be with a nursing home NP who took care of a lot of patients in that setting. So these nursing home NPs, often they're the one there for that day, and they are caring for a lot of nursing home residents at one time. So if that's something you're interested in, that's something that you could do. And an AGNP route would definitely be the route to go if that's something you want to do. And from what I know, the pay is really good, but you also have a lot of patients that you care for. So it was very interesting to see. I had a good experience. And that was that. That's a brief summary of what I did in semester 3. So women's health, just the lecture. Could have been better taught. It was good learning about birth control and GYN infections, things like that. Gerontology, very useful, learning about all your chronic disorders of the older adult, and then primary care of the frail elder. You know, learning about how you care for someone in their old days, the older old. There's all sorts of terms to describe that, you know, the little old people. So that was semester 3. If you guys have any questions about those classes or anything more specific, feel free to leave a message in the comments. I'm gonna do one more video like right now and talk about semester 4. So I'll see you in the next video. Bye.